WDF does not mean what you have in mind. It means what the finance. One of the core values of Snappi is on the financial literacy space. Young generations believe that because they have their social media profile, they're financially literate.
Welcome back to the Issuer Academy. Today we're talking about Europe's newest digital story, Snappi, which recently launched as Greece's first homegrown, fully licensed digital-only bank. We'll explore why Greece, why now, and what it takes to turn a clean build into everyday trust. So, here with me to unpack the journey from blueprint to bank. Firstly, we have Efi.
Nice to meet you. I'm Efi Chatziantoniou. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Snappi, and I'm really thrilled to be here among these wonderful ladies. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm Leda Glyptis. I am a banker in recovery, digital builder and author. Many of you already know me. And those who know me already know that I am a Greek, and I am very excited to be in Athens talking about Snappi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hi, I'm Julie Sutton. I'm the Regional Director for Europe at Paymentology. My first time in Athens, and yeah, really excited to be here today.
Definitely. My first time in Athens as well, and I'm so happy to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the one thing you wouldn't compromise. Before we dive in, something quick to set the tone. Efi, what's one principle you refuse to compromise on in getting this bank live, and why?
I think you've said everything in your opening statement. I mean, you've mentioned about Snappi being an ECB licensed bank. You've mentioned about trust. So one thing that people really relate with banks in a positive way, because there are other correlations also, is trust. So trust is a core value of Snappi, and it's something that we do refuse to sacrifice, we refuse to compromise. You know, this was the case from the beginning of our journey, and we believe that we earn trust by actually listening our customers, listening to the voice of our customers, listening to what our customers need, not what we want, what they need. So that is the most important, let's say, the one element that we really remain committed from day one.
Absolutely. And trust is really how you scale. So that is an amazing first point to never compromise on trust.
Yeah.
Leda, what's one illusion about digital launches you wish we'd all retire?
UX. And I think it's fair to say that there was a time when digital challengers led with UX. It wasn't a defensible moat, but it was such a new thing that it was differentiating, and it took a while for incumbents to catch up. And we all remember how exciting it was to have it, but it has not been enough for a really long time. And I still see in several markets, including mature markets, people leading with UX, which is absolutely not defensible. It's incredibly easy to copy, incredibly easy to compromise. And yet, we still talk about it. Stop.
I couldn't agree more, because yes, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, it was a differentiating factor. Now it's kind of like, okay, what's next? What is the tangible product or feature behind it? What gets the cogs moving? You are so correct. Julie, name one issuer processing choice that saves pain later.
Yeah, honestly, probably not the most glamorous topic, but I think one of the most important decisions that you can make is around investing in good data reconciliation and settlement automation. It's not necessarily the kind of, fintech headline grabbing part of the industry. But as your volumes start to grow, the last thing you want is for your teams to be spending hours on hunting down mismatched transactions or, missing funds. I think if you get that right from the very start, everything else flows. So the accuracy and quality of your data, smoother compliance, and actually your operations team are probably going to sleep better at night. So for me, it's like that unsung hero that just quietly works away in the background.
Absolutely. Operational efficiency is what drives the business, right? You keep those things going. You have, set processes that work. That's when you can focus on the exciting things, right? When you're not bogged down on the kind of legacy every day.
Yes.
Absolutely important. Let's now look at Greece's first digital bank. Why here? Why now? And this is I feel like this is such an exciting time for Greece, and I'm so glad that we're all here to discuss it. Because Greece hasn't always been first in the neobanking conversation, right? But things are shifting so fast. So let's really unpack why here, why now. Efi, tell us a bit more about Snappi. Who did you build for first, and what are the daily pains that you set out to remove for your customers?
Certainly, we're here for the Greeks, okay?
Yes.
We're a Greek bank, and we're addressing the Greek customers. But not only the Greek customers. This is something that it's on our business plan. We will also expand outside the Greek borders. But for now, we are here for Greece. Sometimes the term neobank or digital-only banks, have people a bit confused, and that's perfectly understandable. I mean, even for us that we are in the banking business, but Snappi, as mentioned a couple of times already, is fully licensed ECB bank with all that comes with it, because that brings also, a lot of challenges being working in such a regulated environment. So what we are here to succeed in a way. We are here to take complexity out of the banking, out of banking, to simplify banking, for customers not to be able to use their application as easy, as seamlessly as possible. This is the main goal, to take simplicity out. And the incumbents, Leda mentioned them earlier. Before COVID, everything was about branches, mostly about branches, And in a way, you don't know about this, but, it was kind of an activity for some people to go to the bank, meet people, especially pensioners, it was their monthly visit. They wanted to go there to find other people, sometimes to have a good fight with them, that was the case. But the only good thing about COVID was that it accelerated the digital conversion with a speed that I don't think it would ever be possible if we were in the previous states. So, and the other banks, the mobile applications of the incumbent banks are very good. Okay, they are full. They offer an array of possibilities and products and services, but they're far too complex.
Yeah.
So we are here to offer simplicity in banking.
Absolutely. And I think, being branch-led in Greece was, such an important point around banking. And COVID really helped to make that shift and create digital-friendly behaviors for customers. So did you find the shift from branch-led banking to mobile banking easier post-COVID?
Yes, of course, because now people are used to making the transactions digitally. I mean, they interact with the government agencies more and more digitally. And, I think that before COVID, there was a fear. Okay, there was a fear. I mean, someone can steal my passwords, my codes, my whatever. Gradually, and COVID helped in that direction, they understood how easily it was. They were not dependent on the branches visiting times. The branches visiting times, they could do whatever they wanted to do on 24/7 basis. And that gradually, gained traction in a way. And, at the end of the day, the only thing that every one of us, maybe not Leda, has with us, it's our mobile phones.
It's in my bag.
It's in your bag.
It's in my bag.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not talking about me, I'm really freak on that, but, mostly people have their mobile phones wherever they go.
So simplicity and trust, which is at the core of, what Snappi does. That's really brilliant. Leda, when we look at Greece on Europe's map, is it catch up or is it a chance to leapfrog for Greece? And what would doing it right look like?
Oh God, big question. So
I saved the best for you.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. So I think there is always an opportunity to leapfrog. And there is a disadvantage. I mean, I talked about UX-led challenges. When we saw the first challenges in the UK 10 years ago, our imagination and our ability to imagine processing and capabilities all the way down that would really create a digital bank. But we weren't quite there in our heads yet. So I think the opportunity to create from a blank sheet with no legacy, a brand new thing, it allows you to leapfrog in a million ways because you can learn from everything done right and not right before. You can leverage capabilities that didn't exist a few years before. I don't think we can under stress what Efi talked about the cultural shift in behaviors, because people had no choice and therefore things that they were nervous about had to be done. But against a backdrop that Efi already mentioned of a government that was digitizing extremely aggressively and rather successfully. So you see things happening, and there's a halo effect. To get a state pension in Greece up until 5-6 years ago, you could wait 2 years. A widow's pension, you could wait 5-6 years. Now it's done in a matter of minutes. And so it's not just a shift in people's willingness to engage, but also a shift in willingness to accept that good things come. So in a moment where, I've lived abroad, it's always abroad, right? No matter how long it is. I've lived outside Greece for 28 years now. It's a long time. And for the vast majority of that time, whenever I said to people I'm Greek, they would do this little face of, oh, or, or what are you doing to the economy kind of thing. And the last few years, people go, oh, and they don't just mean the beaches. There is a success story that is really energizing to see. The economy has turned a corner. We're an area where big entities are looking to invest time and effort and not just a cheap location to ship some services. So that's a very, very exciting thing to see. So long answer to your question. If you combine the government being a digital first engagement player, a community that is becoming digitally savvy across age groups, and an economy that is becoming a robust player, then all of the ingredients for having something that starts here and takes over the narrative, I'm not going to say takes over the world, you might not want a global footprint. So, but in that sense, if you have all of these ingredients making the time right now, what can you not compromise? And Efi already talked about one thing. What can you not back if you lose it early on? Trust. But also, Julie, you mentioned the other, which is if you allow your cost to serve and your ability to scale to not be a primary consideration when you're small, it will bite you in the proverbial when you're big. Yeah. So if you look at all of these ingredients and go, we can build something great and robust for a country that is small but not tiny, and we can go from here somewhere else, what do we need to not compromise from day dot? Operational scalability and cost to serve and trust. It's a great story.
It is a great story. And I think what's so important from what you just pointed out is the government support. Because in order to truly leapfrog and use, operational efficiency, the trust and behaviors from COVID and how customers are now embracing these new digital tools, it really is the perfect time for Greece. Yeah. And Snappi being the first digital bank in Greece at this stage is absolutely incredible. But perfect timing. It's like everything came together to make sure that this is a success.
And I don't think you can overstate that. So my dad is the best, and he's 81, and he will leave home with just his phone because his ID, his driver's license, and his credit cards are loaded on his
Everything
phone.
is here. Everything.
That is incredible.
It's habitual now.
Yes.
Because it is both understood, tried, tested, and accepted.
Yeah. And trusted. Fantastic. I think, so Julie, when you look at it, and let's now look at Paymentology's perspective, obviously the partnership with Snappi and Paymentology, what did you have to localize for the Greek market, and what surprised you? Something you wouldn't approach in the same way when looking at other parts of Europe?
Yeah, so I think what really surprised us about Greece, and I think it's been so fascinating to hear both of your perspectives on this actually, was just how people embraced digital payments. So, we know it's typically been a cash-heavy market, but also, how it accelerated almost overnight. And I know the pandemic played a key part in that, but just really that was almost the springboard in many ways. But I think what's also stood out, and I think this has really been reinforced by both of your comments, is just how trust drives behaviour. And, I think in Greece, we've noticed it tends to be more social, everyday spend. If you contrast that with Germany, for example, where people are more privacy focused and perhaps take a more cautious approach to digital payments. So that's been really encouraging. I think one of the other things is it's a good reminder that, of course, digital payments is technology, fundamentally, but also thinking about the non-technical element of that. So, trust and transparency, which I know is really important to Greek consumers. And what I really love about Snappi is your kind of no chatbot, 24/7 human support that really underpins and underscores that. The other piece is that whilst Greece is within Europe, it's still very much an emerging market. And I think this is where Paymentology has real expertise of working with customers in emerging markets and supporting that. And also financial literacy. We've talked about the age ranges today of, digital users. We assume it's just, 18, 19-year-olds that are using it for banking. It's not at all. So I think that financial literacy, but also starting that as young as possible is so important in this digital environment.
Hugely. And if I may jump in there, I think one thing we don't often lean into is that digital literacy and financial digital literacy are not accessible from within each other. And I think Greece is one of those societies that, although our own language and our own script has no affinity to English, facility with English is pretty common and pretty standard. But the makeup of our communities is heavily rural, for instance, and historically, and that's why I love that Efi, you led with simplicity. Historically, I'm educated, right? I'm highly educated. I'm educated to PhD level. And I was trying to do a form for my dad on his incumbent bank in Greek, and I couldn't understand what he was saying because the language is so archaic, so formal, so alienating that actually the opportunity to leapfrog is partly technology and partly access. Because it's extremely alienating and belittling if you're trying to apply for a loan and you have no idea what the application form is saying.
Yeah, I know what you've said. I mean, in Greece, and Leda, you will agree with me. In Greece, there are two bad things that happened almost simultaneously, but actually resulted in something good. Financial crisis was one of the worst things that can happen, and indeed happened. And then COVID, we've talked about COVID, but the financial crisis gave rise to the need of limiting cash circulation, a push, not just a friendly tap in the back, a push towards using digital means, cards, payments in general. So all those things helped accelerate this change to digital, after the years of pandemic and the financial crisis.
Absolutely. I mean, to touch on, starting from you, Julie, obviously emerging markets, financial literacy, getting rid of cash that's the pain point, right? But Leda and Efi, to your point, it's about simplicity. It's about saying to customers, this is an easier way to do it. You can have these services. You can understand how to do it. You can also have easy ways to apply and then have access. So it's all about making sure that access is as easy as, calling a call center if you need help. Understanding that the Greek culture is to speak to somebody rather than to have a chatbot.
Yeah.
Those nuances are so important to getting it right.
But I also think Efi made a point, and I'm derailing your conversation now, but I think I'd like to go back to it because for the listeners who are Greek, when Efi said Greek incumbent banks have actually really extensive digital services, but they are complicated. The Greeks are nodding and going, oh yeah. But the non-Greeks are probably going, how complicated can it be? And the reality is it can be exceptionally complicated. So we talked about the language being inaccessible. I was trying to help my dad navigate putting his new ID number on his incumbent bank. And one of the things he needed was the name of the government protocol in order to get right drop-down menu. Now, you could find it on the government website, but it wasn't intuitive, it wasn't easy. And there is a lot of traits like that. So when we're talking about simplicity, if you're comparing it to the baseline of your incumbent bank in the UK or in the US, it's not that. It's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of it goes back to trying to stick with legacy processes, right?
Yeah,
So
it's not only
No, please.
Yeah,
Go for it. Chaos.
No, it's not just legacy. Legacy is one thing, okay, and it's usually the easy victim. We said legacy system. Like, okay, they are, okay. But besides that, it's also Europe is heavily regulated, and that is also, and you need to find the balance, especially when you are seeking for simplicity. You need to find the balance how to be compliant and also have your services easily understood by the customer.
It's about that balance. How do you balance regulation with simplicity for customers?
And regulation.
That's tricky.
And
Yeah.
innovation.
Yeah, and regulation. We don't see regulation as something that is must have. I mean, it's not. We don't see regulation like something that is imposed on us. Yes, it's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed
Thank you for that.
completely
Actually,
everything.
that was
Yeah.
such an important point. I'm so glad we touched on it. Let's now look at rails and resilience, right? Because really, the choices you feel 6 months later, not right now, right? So are we making the right choices? So it's really about the choices that you make early in tech, in people, can really come back to be a superpower or a massive headache, right? So let's unpack the ones that really matter. Efi, when you think about resilience, whether in your tech stack, your team, what early build choices have set you up to scale? And how will real-time payments shape that journey in the next 6 months?
Well, I think one of the first choices that were made when Snappi came to life, not life to life, was the decision to be only cloud-based, the infrastructure to be cloud-based only. I think this was a key decision that was made back in the days. Now, not so many, anyways. Yeah. The other thing is that we do not reinvent the wheel. Okay, there is no reason in reinventing the wheel, as of course to utilize what's latest in technology. Yeah, that's very important. Of course, keeping up with the technology is not an easy thing to master, to keep up with, but yes. Now, the other thing you've spoken about team. On people, the highest, I would say, attribute that we look into people when we hire, we undergo a hiring process with someone, is not just their professional background, their diplomas, their all this stuff, but also their emotional intelligence, their soft skills. We need people that are skilled. We need people that are passionate about what they are going to do, passionate and innovative also. So we look for people that have this at soft skills, yes, because in that way we reinforce trust between the teams. And it is my firm belief that when you have a team that closely collaborates, that there is trust amongst its members, it's going to be a successful one. There's no question about that. So in a nutshell, technology gives us the foundation for resilience, but it's our people's adaptability that turns Snappi into a living structure. Now, you've asked on real-time payments. Well, okay. I don't think that there is nothing else but real-time payments in 6 months' time. I mean, everyone is expecting everything to happen now.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
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 Especially younger generations, but not only younger generations. I'm a living proof of that. So I think that with real-time payments, we have already crossed a bridge, a bumpy one with many hurdles. But now these hurdles are gone, and at least for the European, for the whole of Europe. And I think that account payments, instant payments, are to be the next big thing. Without that meaning that the other payment instruments will disappear. I think everything has a purpose and a point in time that is being used. So yes, it will be a combination of everything, but definitely there is no way back. I mean, if you ask me if something is going to be disappear, probably SEPA simple payments will be disappearing, because who will choose to pay with 1 day value, let's say, when he can do it now.
Maybe those of us who had to do the implementations and still feel the pain.
Yes, I totally feel you, but yes.
Hold on to it. That hurts so much.
A couple more years.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And, you touched on so many points that I want to unpack. But firstly, cloud, amazing. It allows you to scale and build that resiliency from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing that you said, and yes, real-time payments is, something that I'm very passionate about, but it's that mindset and culture aspect of it. I think if you get the right team, if you do have that collaboration, everyone is moving towards the same goal. And that is what really sets your business apart. Because you're right, the tech is there. The tech can be implemented. But if you don't have the right team to drive it, then you wouldn't be able to grow and build on that. So absolutely fantastic point. When we look at account to account and real-time payments, this is where things are getting really, really exciting. And I'm just, not to displace people yet. But
Hey, look, I'm old enough to have worked on fixed protocols. I'm fine.
You are
I'm
not that
fine
old.
seeing these things die.
No, it's still 24. What do you say? But with real-time payments, this is where we see the industry really moving. And you're right. Customers, regardless of age, regardless of demographic, they want things now. Not because they're impatient, but because that's how fast the world is moving.
Yeah.
And so it's, as for Greek customers who are looking to Snappi, I'm really excited for them that they will have these real-time payments in the next 6 months. And we're really keen to see it
We
happen.
have them
You
now.
already have it. Even better.
But
Immediate.
of course. I know. I mean, in 6 months' time, we do have them. Of course we do. No, I meant that in 6 months' times, it will be the norm.
Yes.
That's
Not
what I
something
meant.
new.
Yeah. Of course we do
Absolutely.
have them.
Of course you have them. Snappi, you have so many amazing products that I think customers are already using. So that's fantastic. Julie, I want to come over to you now because as much as we're talking about Snappi, I want to ask you, what are banks asking you for right now to stay flexible?
Yeah.
Is it event-driven webhooks? Is it, configurable spend rules? Is it lifecycle management? Is it tokenization? What are these things that they're asking for, and why do they matter post-launch as much as they do before launch?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, actually. And in fact, Efi and I were talking about this exact subject earlier. We have seen a real shift. And I think specifically around those more granular spend controls, but that can be adjusted in real time, to your point, Efi. I think also we've been so used to hard coding limits before launch. And really the need is for that, real time, banks wanting to make changes to per user transaction limits, to blocking merchant categories, to actually now we're seeing time of day or day of the week, usage windows, but as you say, all in real time. So I think these things are absolutely fundamental. And I think giving the banks that flexibility also enables them to kind of meet customer needs and demands quickly. But also we talked earlier about emerging fraud trends, and being able to act really quickly on those sorts of things without the need for a full development life cycle.
No, fraudsters work definitely 24/7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They don't.
And this business is a very lucrative business, and cyber has become a major, major threat. And so, what you've just, to your point, Julie, real time, the ability to be able to adjust, your rules, your everything in real time, can make a difference. And this difference, and this goes back again to trust, to customer trust, to gaining, to protecting her the best way you can. So, yeah.
It's all about being proactive.
It all goes
exactly
around in circles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about being proactive. And I think also giving customers that control to say, you can set these different things. You have control. You can actually have it's simple to use, but it's also easily accessible, right?
Yeah.
So I think building all of those things, is so important. And it also gives the bank peace of mind to say, we have these tools in place. You can use it to combat fraud.
And we can react quickly. I think that's
Yes.
the most important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I want to touch now on something that also makes Snappi quite unique, is the JV advantage, right? So startup speed matters, but you also have the strength of your incumbent, right? So Snappi was born as a joint venture, which is, not your usual fintech story. So what does this model unlock, and how do you keep the speed of a startup with the strength of an incumbent? So Efi, when we look at this is such a unique story, like I said. Name one decision the joint venture helped you to make better than, a startup could, and what it actually changed for you.
Well, I think that having two such strong partners, shareholders of the joint venture, well, the first thing you feel is, that you are relieved a bit of the stress, and because it gives you some stability when it comes to, financial security in a way. Okay, so we don't need to make very hasty decisions because we need to improve our financial or whatever. But besides that, Snappi is absolutely working on its own. We do have an incumbent bank as our primary shareholder, but we are totally independent. That said, of course, this does not mean that we do not, utilize. We said we don't reinvent the wheel. So in this not reinventing the wheel concept, you may ask for some advice. You may ask for some things that you need to have a second opinion, but we are totally independent. So yes, I think that is to be honest, I don't have an experience from other, startups, but I think that this was a very big plus. It gives us the comfort and I think this is very important to be said here. It gave us the time to get the license, because acquiring a banking license is not an easy task. And it takes from 2 to 5 years to get a license. So which startup can afford this? So that was a huge, huge help when we begin. So we were able to say, we are going live, we are fully CB licensed, we are open for business.
And those two are so important. The financial security, which is a huge headache on its own, but also your team were then able to focus on what does this digital bank look like? What are the features? What are the products? Rather than all of the red tape around licensing. So that is actually a huge benefit.
Yeah. Listen, in order to get the license, there were a lot of red tape in work. Okay.
I can imagine.
Procedures had to be written, policies, whatever. But the product and the technology teams were working on having this bank, ready for launch, and other teams, compliance, legal, risk, were doing their own stuff. So it was a joint effort within Snappi to have this bank up and running, as was a vision.
Incredible story. Leda, for incumbents spinning out digital arms, what must be ring-fenced? Is it people, tech, budget, risk rules, so momentum survives the governance?
It's a big question, and I think it's fair to say that what you said earlier is absolutely true, right? The Snappi story isn't a common story for startups, and the incumbents that have tried to build digital parachutes have failed in huge numbers. That said, the single most successful stories from an economics perspective are very similar to Snappi. So it's Mox in Hong Kong that reached profitability ahead of everyone else, and Chase in the UK. Not the exact same construct, but a similar established shareholder or JV construct for Mox. So I think there is something to be said about having those accelerants. The alternatives fail in droves. There is an advantage to having that shield, that protection, that wheel not being reinvented. What do you need to ring fence? I think not reinventing the wheel is key. And the biggest thing is that the vast majority of incumbents haven't learned that for themselves. Therefore, if you are in a challenger that is trying to not reinvent the wheel, and you have someone sitting in the incumbent going, but I built this system in 1973 and I feel very emotionally attached to it. So if you want to scrap it, let's build something. Then you have a whole host of problems. So the first one is the mindset of building nothing if you can, or as little as possible if nothing isn't optional. Accepting, as Efi already said, and you guys already touched on, that technology moves super quickly. So evergreening your organization means not becoming emotionally attached to any particular language, any particular capability. It's really not easy.
That is.
It's really not easy.
It's painful.
So you need to build as little as possible and then have partners who are worrying about their estate. And then it becomes a lot about SLAs and partnership. And that is a muscle that a lot of incumbents don't have. Then the third piece you touched on already is governance. There is a very important but complicated dance that you need to do with your and this is a whole chapter in my book. How do you manage your shareholding board? Because there is information asymmetry going your way and power asymmetry going the other way. And managing that flow of information entails doing a couple of things that are really hard. One is delivering to the money cycle, not just your development cycle. And you have to be really honest about that and manage the dependencies around that. And the second is having really honest conversations about the right amount of governance at the right time, one and done. Because one of the hardest things that we have seen done badly is that you get organizations going, just say yes to their 38 committees because it's easier to say yes and show willing, but then the cadence of those committees are not right for what you're trying to do. So having the leadership on both sides with the scars that say, you know what, we need governance and oversight, not just for regulation, but because we have fiduciary responsibilities to you as a shareholder, but we operate like this. So the appropriate amount of governance looks like this. The shape is this, and we will not make it, we won't tweak it or let it fray at the edges because it is really, really vital to the success of both the partnership and the organization. I have actually seen entities be devoured by too much governance. Like people always assume that there will be too little, but actually it's the easiest thing to say yes to. And you go into a negotiation and you fight for different testing cycles, different release cycles. You're fighting for all the things that matter. And they say, right, this is what your senior risk committee cadence will look like. It's the easiest thing to say yes to, but is it the right shape?
Exactly. And I think that's so important. Like, does it make sense for what you are trying to achieve? Yeah. You know, that is so important because often you're right. So many times we're nervous to say, actually, let's just say yes, we get everything approved and then we can move forward. The reality is 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the line, that is hurting you.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. You'll be there.
You'll be there.
Exactly. And the other thing is, which I love, is build nothing.
Yeah.
You know, build nothing. Because that is so, so important. People need to realize when to build, when to buy, when to partner. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you don't need to build from scratch. There are people who have, been working for years.
Experts on the specific area.
Yes. Yeah. And if you get the right experts for those specific areas, then actually you're putting together a team of excellence and a system of excellence. Mm-hmm. And that is what is so, so important. And that also shows the maturity of the builders, in this case, Snappi. That's right. Yeah. So, so important. Also, that mindset is so key. Making sure that you have the right mindset to understand your customers, understand what you're really doing, and two, balancing out the governance piece to make sure that it's effective. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. It's another difficult balance.
It is. All about the balance.
It is.
Perfect. So we're getting closer to the end and I always get sad at this part. But let's now look at what's next, right? So the near term, what will customers feel? I know that they already have real-time payments. So let's keep this real. Let's not talk about your 5-year roadmap.
It wouldn't be realistic. Sorry for the answer. With the advances of technology, speaking now, 5 years.
Exactly. So let's talk about what your customers are really going to feel. What's in store for your customers over the next 6 months?
Okay, so we are going into consumer lending. We are going into investment products. And we are also, savings accounts and stuff like that. What we already offer, let me say that again, we offer real-time payments. We actually offer all the array, let's say, of payments, credit transfers, direct debits, whatever, card payments, of course, and also buy now, pay later, which is something a bit new. And it's not so new in Greece because there is a company that offers that already. But when it comes to banks, we are the first bank to offer buy now, pay later. This is what we offer. So we within next year, the things that will come are those that I have mentioned: investment products, consumer lending, and various saving products. Yeah.
And that really shows that you are evolving with your customers. You have the products that they need right now, but you're also looking at what comes next. And lending is definitely something that we're seeing across digital banking as being key, but also investments. That's exciting.
Exactly. Investment products, and save it to say it later, but investment products, my son many times asks me, Mom, I see this and that and there. So shall I put some money there? He doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't know whom to trust. Okay. And because at the end of the day, again, everything is about trust. So what we will do as Snappi, we will try. I don't want to say too many things right now because we could have another podcast for that reason. Yes. So what we will try to do in that area of investment products, we will offer everyone an opportunity to start investing even as little as, 10 euros, 20 euros, whatever, it doesn't matter, so that they get familiarized with the process, understand the risks, the benefits, because as we used to say, I don't know how to put that in English, but if you had an investment product in Greek banks, they say that former gains do not guarantee future gains.
Yes.
That is something that not many people understand.
Yes. It's so true. It's so true.
That's so true.
Yeah.
But it's also looking at how you, again, broadening financial literacy, because now it's like financial literacy.
Okay, I had left that say it later, but you are teasing me a lot.
Yes, exactly.
So we've spoken a lot about financial literacy. So I don't know if you have noticed the initials WTF. WTF does not mean what you have in mind. Okay? It means what the finance. Okay, so one of the core values of Snappi, and not only values, but target, I would say, is on the financial literacy space. Because as we've said, young generations believe that because they handle well their social media profiles or whatever, they're financially literate. The other day, I was telling Julia this morning, a friend called me about a friend of hers, and she told me he got hacked. And I said, but how did this happen? He's a smart guy. He has a university degree, he has a master's degree. That does not mean having degrees, having PhDs does
help.
not. It doesn't. So financial literacy is something that across Europe is something that it really hurts. So this is a very basic concept of ours, and we're really dedicating already a lot of time. We are going to universities, we're speaking to students. And this is something that one of the main reasons that we are opening a hub. As you know, we're digital only, so we don't have any physical presence. But we wanted to have a space where anyone can come, ask whatever questions they want to ask. You don't do it's not a branch. We don't do transactions there. Just you can sit, have a coffee, ask something, or there will be a lot of videos playing on the walls. But also that we are going to have many events. We will call university professors, authors, other people. Yeah.
As we say in Greek, I'm going to tie this.
I'll help you.
Yeah. And the goal will be to increase the financial literacy of Greeks.
That is incredible, because it's not just for your customers, it really is for
it's
Greek
not
people.
for our customers.
That's what's
No. Yeah.
I think
It's for everyone.
And with the speed of adoption that you've seen in Greece, it's so important, and I think it's really lacking in most parts of Europe. So you're positioning yourselves as a real thought leader, aren't you, in payments more broadly, actually.
We could use that across the board. And I know I'm one of those people don't uninvite me now, but I'm one of those people who will give people a little payments lecture when something goes wrong and they go, I don't know what happened. It's like, well, let me tell you what happened. And the reality is nobody wants to hear it. Everyone goes, nobody cares, but they should. They should absolutely care. And we find that because of everything is changing as quickly as we're discussing, it is incumbent upon all of us. If you're a shop assistant, actually you need to understand if a payment doesn't go through, you need to understand what the possible failure modes are rather than putting it on the customer, which is what usually happens. It timed out, pay again. As a customer, you need to understand your rights. And I'm not saying that everyone should walk away with a degree in finance, but actually understanding the basics of these are my rights. This is the exposure I may have. This is what this means in a place where you can ask the questions that make you feel stupid.
In a safe place.
You've said
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's so true. Don't feel bad. I do the same thing. Like, oh, every cashier, this is what an error code 51 is. This is a 05. It's not my fault.
Let me see the error code.
Let me see the error code. This is a network problem.
Yeah. Oh, your merchant gateway has timed out. This is a network problem.
Exactly. That is me all the time.
We should go shopping together. It'll be so much fun.
But what I was going to say, Efi, is please, I would love to come back to the hub and the workshops as well.
Yes.
Because it's so...
We are going to have a podcast studio there.
We're going to have a podcast studio there.
Round 2 is already booked in.
But I'm thinking I'm revealing too much.
It really is so exciting. And when we think about your customers, it again just goes back to what you said at the very beginning, which is trust is at the heart of everything that you're doing, which is so, so important. Leda, I'm going to come back to you now, because I always love to touch on trends with you. What's one trend that matters for Greek consumers and one that we can ignore for the moment? Always give me the hard ones.
You always give me the hard ones. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a cheat of an answer. So what we're seeing is that both the Greek economy and Greek consumers are changing very fast. And actually, you didn't ask that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Listening to Efi, it makes me realize that actually one of the things that has changed isn't just the market writ large, but the reality for the people that will be employed by a Snappi today. Both the fact that a Snappi is available, but also that the right type of talent pool is available in Greece. And that wouldn't have been the case the same way when I moved. You didn't exist. But I think there's something very powerful about that dialogue. And we've seen it before in other parts in Europe, and it's very, very vibrant here. So in that context of government, private enterprise, maturing markets moving quickly, I think we're in a place where we don't actually need to sit out any particular trend. Because usually I advocate focus, and I know you know that, but I think we're in a position where you don't need to sit anything out. And if we are focused on what we're trying to achieve and don't reinvent the wheel, then we don't need to sit anything out. And I think the two biggest buzzwords out there right now, obviously, are AI and stablecoins. I think in any other context, I would say sit out the stablecoin trend, but we have lived through such a painful crisis here, and we're in a delicate geopolitical position that actually, in many ways, we are the geography that gives the digital euro the solution to the problem, right? The offline payments, all those capabilities. So that it's an interesting thing for the pain that the society has gone through in the past. And then there isn't anything out there that is going to ignore agentic commerce increasingly. And what I'm finding very interesting is that LLMs are becoming very fluent in Greek. Usually you're shielded by the language being inaccessible. But my dad showed me the other day, ChatGPT did a summary of my career for him.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's Greek.
It's
in
excellent.
Greek. That's and it spelled my name correctly as well. So I think it's a cop-out answer for you, but I think we're in a robust position for the first time in my lifetime that we don't actually need to sit anything out. We just need to exercise caution.
And that again just shows how unique this market is, because not only are customers happy now to adopt digital, they have the trust and you're growing the product, but it's also things that you wouldn't necessarily like stablecoin, for example. So many new customers we say, okay, hold on, let that be phase 2, phase 3. Actually, it makes perfect sense for the Greek market, which is, like I said, just so unique to what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Steppecoin is another podcast.
Yes. We've got lots of
It
topics.
is another podcast.
Every time we have a podcast, we come up with topics for the next podcast. We're getting to the saddest part of the podcast for me, in closing. So let's close on a sentence. So if each of you can give me a sentence. The one thing I wish more founders in Europe, in European banking, understood is, Leda, I'm going to start with you. You always give us exciting ones.
I am going to give you one that isn't one of mine, actually. It's a quote from my book, and it's Christian Nentut who said it. And he said the biggest lesson he had as a CEO and founder is that the version of him that started the work isn't the version that can finish it. And if he can change, great. If he can't, he has to step aside. And I wish more founders realize that. There is a journey for them and there's a journey for the company. And the two can be concurrent, but they don't necessarily need to be concurrent. That awareness of how much you need to change, getting the right mentors, the right support. There are people who will say your blind spots are getting the best of you are very important, and knowing when to step aside is a skill, and it's extremely hard emotionally. But I wish more founders realized when they started that the moment will come when they will have to do that.
I absolutely could not agree more, because that self-awareness can either make or break the business as you grow. Not everybody has that growth mindset for the whole duration, right? And that, to be honest, it's not just about founders. You could say that about anyone, political parties, anyone really. It's really about holding that self-awareness. And accountability to your own business, right? Amazing. Efi?
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, I totally agree with what Leda said. But I would also add to that the ability to accept failure and learn from it, rise up and continue. Because at the end of the day, there is no question that we are going to make mistakes. The point is how you respond to it, how you accept them, how do you embrace this failure, because not everyone can embrace failure, easily. And this goes for us as individuals, but also for founders or, board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, people with huge money, I don't know, Elon Musk or other guys like him, they are working on hundreds of different projects. Most of them fail.
Yeah.
But if one succeeds, that's enough.
Failure is the lesson in my book. So I couldn't agree more. Julie?
Yeah, so I think it's the fact that Europe isn't a single homogenous market. And I think some of the conversations we've had today, to me, just highlight that, so well, that there are different attitudes, cultural attitudes towards money. The way that people use money and spend money is completely different. And I think having a single product that you think you can roll out across Europe rarely is successful. So I think if it's anything, it's, these founders really doing their homework and research, and what might work for one market might not necessarily work in another.
Absolutely. Understand your audience, right?
Yeah.
Really understand, what are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Exactly.
The voice.
Yes.
The customer.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
I think the voice of the customer is what we should always go back to. Every single objective should be like, okay, let's go back.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Without the customer, nothing exists. So
Exactly. None of us.
yeah.
Perfect. And so if you're listening from another market, Greece's story shows that even the most traditional banking landscapes can surprise you, and maybe your own market as well. And unfortunately, that is a wrap on this episode of the Issuer Academy. We've explored how Greece's first digital-only bank moved from an idea to reality, what it takes to turn a clean build into everyday trust, and something that my key takeaway is WTF, what's finance? What finance?
And Snappi Hub coming soon.
Yes,
really
Snappi
soon.
Hub, Snappi podcast room as well. A huge thank you, Leda, Efi, and
Thank you.
Julie for joining us.
We thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. And for everybody else, we'll catch you next time on the Issuer Academy. That wraps up today's episode of the Issuer Academy, Paymentology's podcast to innovate, scale, and provide impact. I hope you're leaving with fresh insights and actionable strategies to help you revolutionize your card programs and drive true impact in the world. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, Please leave a review to help us reach more pioneers like you. Also, be sure to subscribe and follow us for more inspiring episodes and behind-the-scenes content from Paymentology. Until next time, I'm Merusha Naidu. Keep innovating, keep scaling, and keep striving to make an impact.